welcome back to our podcast.
Hot Tub Time Machine Podcast.
I am Michelle,
I'm Melissa.
and we're sisters.
Welcome to the tub. Today we're going to talk about the Blake Lively, Colleen Hoover, It Ends With Us controversy. Because we both have a pretty good hot take, I think.
I think so. Funny enough, our producer one wanted to be here because she actually had a lot of insight to this way before. I want to say it was early maybe March break, and we read, like we said before, and I had heard about the It Ends With Us, and my daughter had read it, and she wasn't a fan. She was like, nope.
Don't you not really like Colleen Hoover either?
I honestly didn't have an opinion because I'd never read anything Colleen Hoover. So, but when I found out that it was going to be a movie, I wanted to read it. So I read it, and then I read It Starts With Us because I actually really enjoyed the books. But my daughter was dead set in. She's like, I don't like the way that it's portraying this rom-com, like this, it's glorifying DV, right? And so that's really funny because I was like, no, like I don't agree with that. I think that the book I didn't find. Did you read the books?
I've read like all of Colleen Hoover.
I've read a lot of. Did you read her? Well, that's gonna. But did you read her Slammed?
What I've read that like shocked me was that she actually put out a coloring book based on this book.
So not
Didn't read the coloring book. Did not purchase.
So a coloring book, but also nail polishes.
The nail, yeah. We'll get to the merch because there's merch, which is crazy. But when I saw that the movie was coming, I was so excited and I wanted to see it.
Yeah, same. Especially because of Blake Lively, I really was interested, and we don't know celebrities, right? You just know what you see on social media. And she, Ryan Reynolds.
We like Ryan Reynolds
Love
a lot. Like, obviously we're Canadian, and like number one, he's Canadian, but number two, like, Just Friends, like one of my favorite movies of all time. And they seem like very like fun couple.
That's their dynamic on social media. Again, not real, but I love what you see on social media.
Yeah, like I didn't really have a big opinion on her because I didn't like watch Gossip Girl.
No, same.
I saw Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, but I mean, whatever. So it wasn't really. It was more the book. That it was a book I read, and I read the prequel, that I wanted to see it. But when I started hearing murmurs about the separate, at the premiere, Justin Baldoni was a separate from them, not a
They would not go together,
and then they
in
unfollowed
pictures.
each other.
Yeah.
And like, I watched all of Jane the Virgin, and I had seen a couple.
Oh, is he from Jane the Virgin? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's Raphael. I think he's the main dude.
Baby daddy?
Yes.
Okay.
And I feel like I had seen a few interviews with him, maybe, like not something I'm seeking out, and thought he was very like very in touch with his emotions type, like very like talking about topics like that were not surface level. So hearing the controversy, like something had happened, like it was very interesting because it didn't quite sit with what I had kind of thought was his real persona.
He was definitely being villainized. Is that the word? Vilified, villainized, whatever the word is.
What's so funny? Some people, like, use your head. This girl had put out a TikTok, because I'm doing research and stuff before, so I know, like, what's the latest, what's actually happening versus what people are talking about.
You mean you're searching TikTok?
I was on TikTok because I wanted to kind of, but I also tried to verify things. Like, my background is a journalist, so, But there was a girl who put out a TikTok, and she's like, "You're done, Justin Baldoni, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I looked, and she had put, like, a reply, and like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." It's like, take down your TikTok, maybe? Like,
yes.
Like,
well, because the buzz originally was that he fat shamed her and lingered too long on a kiss.
Well,
that was the...
And that's the thing, like, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have a lot of power in Hollywood, because Ryan Reynolds is like I feel like what does good at the box office really is superhero movies and kids movies, because they'll go for the effects for superheroes and people will just take their kids to the movies. But other movies, you never know how they're really going to do. So because he's so popular with, like, Deadpool and all that, like, he's a big moneymaker. Like, he has power in Hollywood, and she's his wife.
And Aviation Gin.
What?
Aviation Gin.
Oh, all their businesses? Oh, yeah. Like, and beloved by everyone. So Justin Baldoni is coming up against this, and I read that he hired, like, a PR team because, like, obviously he was nervous. But, like, and it's, like, it's so good when it's, like, someone just gets found out for what they truly are and exposed, and it was, like, so deserved.
Okay, so here's what I think. Again, like I said, we don't necessarily... So this is what happens, and again, this is unfortunately the truth of media, is that did they miss the mark for the PR for this? 100%. I am a Blake Lively fan. I like, you know, do I represent or appreciate how this was branded? No. Putting on your best florals and coming and seeing this is not the Barbie movie. This was they missed the mark on something that could have been very incredible for DV survivors and for that power movement, because this was, you know, and one of the things that said is, like, there's not even, like, in any of the interviews or anything, like, there's not even a trigger warning, like, to say
that is, and no one's talking about that, because literally there's trigger warnings for everything where I'm like, that wasn't that bad. But, like, telling someone to go and sit in a theater and expect a rom-com, which is, like, 100% feel good, and this movie is, like, maybe there's a bit of a feel good ending, but there's a lot of things that would, you know, potentially re-traumatize a lot of people.
And that is, like, when you see some reaction videos, and even funny enough, like, again, looking at the TikToks, even looking at, like, just scrolling through, like, who I follow and stuff, and, you know, a couple of people were in the theaters going, having no knowledge, not reading it, expecting to fall asleep or have this rom-com, and they came out just destroyed.
Do you go to the movies expecting to fall asleep?
Literally, so this one that everybody knows Mama Tot. Do you know Mama Tot from TikTok? You don't know no.
I'm, like, so new to TikTok. I'm, like, 30 days in.
I want you to look at Mama Tot. Mama Tot's amazing. And she's like this Southern belle, and she's actually a survivor, and she's wonderful, but she got dragged there, but it was a later show. So she was like, I'm going to try to stay awake, but she's like, it's 9:00 and that's my bedtime. She's like, so she was thinking, and then it, you know, they watched it, and I do think that a warning would have been necessary. I think that they should have, and you know what? Any proceeds, some proceeds from this movie, along with any merch or anything, there should be something going towards the cause, the reason behind this, like.
Well, and here's the thing. If you say, like, grab your girlfriends and go see this movie, so the stats are 1 in 3 is a survivor or has experienced it.
Yeah.
So if you're grabbing your girlfriends, you're probably grabbing someone who's going to be, had been affected by this, and to go in with this, like, you don't know if someone wants to share their story, but they might, you know, get emotional or have a reaction.
100%.
And then you're forced into this situation where it's like, we're wearing florals, but everyone's upset. Like,
and we weren't expecting it. Like, we just got hit in the face with it, and I just don't think, like...
Because not everyone's read the book. Like, I don't think a lot of people are super big readers because people are so busy these days, and unless you really...
Or listen to the audiobook or whatever, yeah.
Well, I guess maybe.
But I just don't feel like...
She's also a young adult, so it's like a lot of women might not be... Like, they would not want to read a young adult book, so maybe they would have missed it too.
It's, I don't think she's young adult.
She's totally YA.
No, I don't think she is. No, her.
I feel like Verity, but like a lot of them are like, those kids are in high school.
But for It Ends With Us, wasn't it?
No, but they were in high school for some of it, or is that the prequel only? Either way, what really struck me...
Oh, right, I got you.
Right?
Okay, yeah.
What really struck me, so, like, journalist, that interview with that woman, where she comes in and she says, like, oh, nice, like, cute baby bump, congrats, and the lady's like, congrats on your baby bump.
Like, yeah.
Like, and then the mean girl atmosphere, like, as, like, someone who has interviewed people, like, and especially you need to think that reporter, you know, is interviewing two celebrities. That's intimidating. And for you to not be, you know, and to not be, you know, kind, but to be so nasty, to comment on, like, I understand you don't want someone to comment on your body, but she was, I believe they said 7 months pregnant, so it's
8,
not...
From what I saw, well, from what I heard, it's 8.
But she was obviously pregnant because she is, like, a very, like, slim figure, so it's not like, you know, you're making assumptions. Like, she was, and it was public that she was pregnant, and, like, when you're reporting, what you really want, especially, like, that type of interview, is a conversation. And those two completely shut her out of that conversation. And I think she said she didn't even ever post that interview because she was so embarrassed.
So I didn't get that perception. This is what I got. And again, I just want to say, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. And I'm just saying that, again, social media, witch hunt kind of thing. Blake Lively is on the stakes right now. So what happened, they didn't like the way that she had, you know, she's promoting her hair products. So they dug. And they found this video, right? So because this video is from a while ago.
This wasn't the only bad interview that came up.
She's had a couple, and that's fine. The question is, would we have thought this video was so insulting if this movie or these situations? Maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't.
I would have personally, because, again, with my specific
Sure.
background, I'm very sensitive to that.
Here's what I saw from that video. I feel like she didn't like... And I don't know if the interviewer would have said, congrats on your upcoming baby, that if Blake would have reacted the same way. She did not like that she said, congrats on your little baby bump.
Yep.
And she said, congrats on your little bump, is what she said. What I found from then is that you lost Blake. Now, was it Parker Posey that she was with? I felt that Parker Posey was really trying to... I think she felt bad. I didn't find it was a Mean Girls. I felt that if you look...
You know, she was
Parker
definitely
Posey
the
is
one,
talking to
yeah.
the interviewer, and anything that Blake is saying from that time on, she is looking at Parker Posey, and she's not looking at this lady. I think she makes one eye contact, and she's going, and she's this and that. And I think even... You know, I did find the Mean Girls vibe, because it seemed like the first question, which... the lady interviewer asked, which was legitimate, something about Hollywood. Blake was trying to do a Mean Girls thing, saying, why do they always ask this? And why don't they ask about the men? Oh, the costumes.
She asked about the clothing, which is so funny because of what she's doing now. Oh, but there. Okay, but did you see the interview where the man said, what would you say to, like a survivor came up to you on the street, like how could they talk to you? Number one, I don't think that that's appropriate.
Oh, do you want my digits or something like that?
I don't think that that's an appropriate question. It's a safety issue and then also a privacy issue because they could be recording you, they could be taking pictures. But what I would have loved her to say is, in preparation for this role, I spoke to survivors of domestic abuse and got their stories so they could shape me for this role to give her the perspective that she needed so that when she was on the red carpet promoting this, that she would not be speaking so flippantly or even saying things that could potentially, you know, lead someone to come and get re-traumatized from your movie. But on the flip side, have you seen how Justin Baldoni's been promoting this?
He has been promoting the awareness of DV.
He's an angel.
And he has, yeah. Now, yes, again, but you also have to think this is very strategic. Blake is diving and he's listening to what people are saying.
But
so
I
he's
don't
coming
think
up.
I don't think it was after the fact. I think that these were existing interviews because it was it was existing. Like,
So
I don't think
from
it's a
what
reaction.
and from what I understand, and from, again, this is all like from doing like research, like the social media research that I was doing, is that he is the director. He was the director, and he had a different approach, and he felt
there's a lot of he's like behind the scenes that we don't really know what that actually was.
Well, but what they're saying, well, again, it's kind of it's fitting with the way that the reaction is to say that Blake Lively was making this out to be more of a rom-com than
the
dramatic.
To me, a rom-com would be more profitable perhaps than this movie, but at the same time, because you're rich as F. I'm sorry, you are. So are you making this movie to make money, or are you making this to actually make an impact? Because at this point, like, if you don't need the money. Why wouldn't you try to do something good? And that's the thing. If that's who you are at the core, should you be famous? Or why can't we get nice people, good people in the spotlight who are actually doing something? Nicola Coughlan, I'm talking to you.
I don't think that she was properly prepared. Whether that was
how do
her
you
team.
Show up to work unprepared?
Well,
because she's also a producer. You should have done your homework. And I bet you if she, hindsight's 20/20, but if she knew, she would have had those conversations that she so flippantly said, give them my phone number. No, but do your research, dude, and know who your like a potential large part of your audience is, or people who know someone, or you know what I mean.
I think that what you nailed it on the head when you said, like, speak to original, because I think that it's like in so many situations where you're not involved, if you are not in the case, like, let's say whenever it comes to minorities, their fight for justice, Indigenous, Black rights, all of that, we can't, as white women, we can't explain and say what they are. So I feel like in the same thing, I don't believe that Blake Lively is a victim of DV. Maybe she is, and I could be incorrect, but I don't believe that.
I don't think she would have the attitude of, like, it's okay, this doesn't have to define you. But for, like, many people, like, it is a big part of their story.
But that's where I'm getting at, is that when she was saying these women are more than what's happened to them and everything like that, you can't make a powerful statement like that unless you speak to women.
You have
because
the goods to back it up.
The survivors are saying this is what defines us every single day, and it will, and them just surviving on their own. So saying that, like, one of the things that I did like about the book, and I won't be spoilers, but I did feel like, she came out as a strong woman. So the book didn't offend me. The book made me excited to see what they were going to do, and I was really excited to see it. And I haven't seen the movie.
No, me neither.
So I don't know how they portrayed it in the movie. But I agree. I don't want to be on a witch hunt, because people make mistakes, and Blake Lively is young, and I would just really hope, like, there have been people that have come out of scandals and they've learned from it, and I would really like to hear from her.
Well, she did put out something, like, she did do an interview afterwards where she, like, was more how she should have been. I did see that.
The race against Deadpool and It Ends With Us, the box office was disgusting. I didn't like that.
Yeah,
that was like
literally, like, I'm so sorry. It's such an ick to be talking about what she wore in this movie, because really, realistically, like, if you're wearing designer clothes and all of that, like, how is that your character? She was not wealthy.
No.
So why is she wearing designer clothes? And why is that even a topic of conversation ever?
I'd like to hear about how much you learned about horticulture and flower,
well,
right?
know,
I'd
right?
like to learn about that. And yeah, I agree. I'm very sad. Like I said, I'm not ready to put a witch hunt out, and I'm really hoping that this can be a learning situation for Colleen Hoover. Because, like you said, the merch.
The merch is so tone deaf, and, like, so I did, like, can this be real? And I haven't seen anything with her promoting it on a red carpet or anything like that. I'm not to say it hasn't happened.
There is a picture of her in a department store with it, I think.
But
Colleen Hoover, not Blake Lively.
No, there's a nail polish that's Lily or Bloom or something, and then there's one that's like Be Brave.
Yes.
But there's also like a Lily Bloom's like sweatshirt, and I'm like, no, like I don't know. And again, I also heard that none of the proceeds are going to the victims. Now, to be fair, she has picked a bunch of books to do, to get the merch from, and there's also a jewelry line. But promoting it, I mean, also like, personally, I would not, but promoting it or any product on the red carpet, and especially when you're not, giving out resources or speaking like Justin Baldoni. Another thing that I heard was that Blake Lively did not want Justin to be portrayed well as a character, but the thing that he knows,
I heard that it was opposite. She wanted him to be nicer, and he was like, this is not a nice character. I heard opposite. She wanted him to calm it down and be like more charming and alluring, and he was like, no, we should check that, because that's what I heard. He was like, this is not a rom-com, this is he's not a good guy. Well, that's what I heard.
So I heard him say that he really wanted to delve into why men hurt women, but I also heard from like a review saying that they didn't see any gaslighting, and that's if that is missing, or that needs to be understood, is that like when this starts happening, it is not like you walk in and this person shows you who they are. There is gaslighting involved. And to understand that, he needs to be charming, because he would have been charming. He would have swept her off her feet and brought her tight into the situation before he showed that behavior. Typically, that's what you would see.
And also further, like, I feel like right now, with all of this, immediately, like you said, Colleen Hoover doesn't need the money, Blake Lively doesn't need the money, they don't need the money. At this point, I'd be like, any merch, any this, any that, anything is going, 50% proceeds are going to this. Do it now. It might be a little bit late, but do it now. Let them at least, let the people that have,
for PR, but because it's the right thing to do.
Maybe let the people that feel like they're not seen, let them feel seen and heard, right? I feel like that. And also though, but because there's also, bring in like PTSD and childhood trauma, because that stems, like, that was part of this story as well.
Yeah, so she had watched her mother, which made her a victim. And, like, I don't know if you want to say, but, like, we experienced it in our childhood to a certain degree in a specific situation. But then I got in a relationship where I experienced it firsthand. So this really makes me mad. Like, mine was more mental and emotional. But to be like, she should just leave, like, you do not understand. It's, even if it's not like a physical prison, sometimes it's an economic prison, or sometimes there's children involved, like, and sometimes it's like a mental prison. And because after the love bombing, which I was love bombed, which I didn't even know, it wasn't even a term because it was so long ago. But then there's the gaslighting, and like that was also not a term. Like I learned about it way later, and I was like, oh, that's what that is, but you don't see it. Yeah. So it's like, for her to be so flippant, and like, it's just disgusting, because if you would have spoken to anyone, you would know that, like, a lot of people die trying to leave. Like, a lot of people, like, especially like with social media now, like, a lot of people, there's nowhere to go that you're safe.
Yeah, and then also for the childhood trauma, he also experienced childhood trauma.
Right? Oh, right?
Right?
I don't remember the book that well.
His little brother,
he
shot him.
No, he shot him.
He shot him.
Yeah. By accident.
Yeah, and I think it's another, and again, it's another a message of bullies breed hate. And that's another thing with, like, and this is like bullying on like a really traumatic, but it's still a sense of bullying nonetheless. And you've got this guy who's carried this guilt and this anger for so long, and he's, you don't know how to, and that's what happens with bullies. They're not happy, they have this anger, so what do? Blah, they bring it on, and it happens, unfortunately, for the most part, to the people that you love the most, that you just feel that blood, because it's like, you know, love and rage, there's a fine line to some people, and that's, you know, what happens. So, like, there were so many lessons that this could have.
Well, someone said, like, it should have been a series because they felt like there was too much that wasn't examined, and I do agree. And I also, again, I haven't seen it, but I would stress, like, just because you're, you know, an A-list actor doesn't mean that you can do something, any topic, and not do your research, especially something like this. Like, do your research.
And again, what your ideals, and you have to be humbled, and I think that's the problem, is you have to be humbled enough to know that what your ideals are, and you saying, again, if Blake is a victim of DV, then I'm talking out of the wrong end.
Well, we don't know.
We're not sure, and maybe she is, and it doesn't matter. But from what from what it seems like, to looking at the reactions of DV survivors and the anger that's coming, it was a missed mark, and you don't get to say you're more than this, and we're overcoming it, and we're better, and
look,
really
Deadpool just sold out. Like, that was literally
and making too lighthearted on the talking about your ring, too lighthearted on the red carpet, and also this was not the Barbie movie, and this was not your Barbie moment, and that unfortunately is what I don't know, and I'm not sure, like, is there, you know, you can start really diving into, like, the psychoanalytics of it. Is it like your husband is on the screen, and were you really trying to one up him, maybe because you're competing and he's always up here and Blake Lively really is not for movies? Like, I don't know where this was coming from or why.
What all I know is, what I want to see is, I want everyone to realize that there is power in us as a collective, and we don't need to bully, but I do believe that we need to support good actors and good people. And just because of your hair or whatever, that's not enough anymore. And I'm sorry, Nicola Coughlan, like, I'm so obsessed with her, but she's like the number one for everybody, and she is not a Blake Lively. And when you look at her in interviews, she is so nice, she is so personable, and, like, again, like, obviously I have a very specific point of view because, like, of my background, but that puts people at ease. Like, she's such a nice person. So let's make people like that famous. Let's not make these people who are so out of touch with reality and not, in my opinion, like, doing what you need to do for your job. And let's not make these people famous. And it doesn't need to be a witch hunt, but it's just move your support to who really deserves it, to people who have, like, good acting chops, but also, like, good morals and good values.
I feel like in today's day, we are all looking to come together and to find something that we can actively, you know, support. And like I keep saying, but, like, I feel like the Barbie movie was one. Like,
I rewatched that recently, and I just enjoyed it so much.
But what did it look like? It was the greatest movie? No, it didn't. But it was that feel good, like, come together, and so, you know, we were bringing in, and I feel like if we would have,
between women, such support.
And I feel like women want to support women, and I feel like if we would have come support your sisters that have been, this is bringing awareness, come support. I feel like
we would have come together, especially grow.
And I think that we did start to. And I think that's what happened.
Everyone was ready to tear Justin Baldoni apart for anything, because we were so, like, how dare you?
But people came, like, and unfortunately, people that didn't do their hadn't read or didn't have a background, they came in floods to do this, and they were taken aback, and that wasn't like. There are sometimes, like, let's say in My Girl, there's that twist that's got you crying, and you're not ready for it, and that's fine. And that was something. He needs his glasses. But I don't think that this was the surprise that people needed. I think they deserved to know before going in.
If you're experiencing domestic violence in Canada, you can call the Assaulted Women's Helpline. It's available 24/7 and in over 200 languages. You can call toll-free 1-866-863-0511. If you are experiencing domestic violence in the United States, you can call the National Domestic Violence Defense Hotline. It's 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233.
We're hoping it was just a tone deaf moment, and we're hoping for all the best for them, and that, you know, onwards and upwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, speaking of such a hot topic, like a sad topic, I thought that I would bring a little bit of a different tone for childhood trauma. And so we filmed Ghost Stories, which is not out yet, and I remembered 2 ghost stories that I forgot about. That's how like it's like just add to it, just add to it. So I thought I would share my 2 ghost stories instead of the childhood trauma. Okay. So, my first one, and yeah, my one daughter reminded me of this. She reminded me of one, and then that triggered this other one. So, I had 3 daughters, all one after the other, and I don't know which one it was, but I think it was my youngest daughter, and I like breastfed her forever. Like that's just how it went. And I remember I went into her room. It was the middle of the night, and we had a rocking chair, and I went to breastfeed her, and so this is how old she was because she could talk, and I can't remember if it was like we had sat down, but she looked at the doorway and she said hello. And I was like, well, I'm in here now. The second incident was so then years and years later we fostered, and so at this point we did have a video monitor because it's so nice to have one, and so it's connected to my phone. So baby starts crying, and at this point like she was still taking a bottle at night, and baby starts crying, so I look on the monitor, and we had a camera that followed motion. Yeah, which was really stupid because it was loud. So anyways, and so I look at her on the monitor, and then I see this orb go by, and I'm like, oh, and it followed the motion. So it detected motion with that orb. And then I was like, I guess I'm headed in because the baby's crying and I'm going to feed her. And that was that. So those are the 2 little tidbits of experiences that I forgot to add on my million... and oh, this too. So I'm editing that video because it's already edited. And I'm editing it. I'm getting kind of freaked out, and don't my lights flicker? I was just like, great.
That just actually reminded me of something that I didn't tell the cast, the podcast, if you will. That just reminded me of that because when you said orbs, again, as we had said in the last one, because it's become a fascination of mine, when you said the orb and you said it followed to me, I feel like that's somebody protecting her that was there. That's what I feel. And then going on to that, I don't know if you remember this, but when my son, so I have 2 adult children, so this was a long time ago. My son was 2 years old, and I had I was going through a divorce, so I had moved back in with my father, and so we shared a bedroom that had 2 single beds, one on one side, one on the other. My son was never one to come into bed with me or like have nightmares or anything like that. So it was weird because one night he had crawled into bed with me and it woke me up, I remember. So he crawled into bed and just was like, I want to sleep with you. And so I'm like, sure, like, come on in. So he had literally just got settled, and the shelf that had a lamp and a bunch of things that was above the bed that he was sleeping under crashed down.
Oh.
Yeah. And literally, the kid never slept with me, and literally that just happened, crashed down, and it was like a lamp with a lampshade, and like, I don't think, it wouldn't have killed him, but it definitely would have hurt him. It would have been right at his head. Yeah, so that was crazy, and definitely felt like, and I like to think that, whether it's true or not, but I feel like it was Mehmet or somebody that was protecting him at that time and bringing him over into my room knowing that that was going to fall. Or it was something bad pushing it down, but he had already left. He had already gone out.
He had
So I feel like it was somebody protecting, or something protecting.
Well, you know what? So something similar happened to me.
Bye bye.